Hey, welcome back to the Alaskan Mancave. Today we have a scope we need to do with some Cerakote along with the rifle. As you can see by the pattern that's on there, you can see why this guy wants the scope recoated. He just wants it done in black. It's pretty simple, but let me show you a few things that I've learned on when you're coating scopes, particularly what you got to watch out for. Now with the scope, obviously the most tricky part we're going to have to deal with is just masking off the two ends, because obviously we don't want to get any paint or any sandblast media onto those surfaces. So what we're going to do is, on one end I found that I have a rubber plug that fits just perfectly in there, and then on the other end we're going to be masking it off with some of this poly tape I get off of Amazon, and I have some scraps of my high temp vinyl. So we'll go ahead and start working on getting this masked off and ready. Before I start working on masking off the scope, it's probably going to be a good idea to do a rough degreasing before we get started. That way we're not potentially compromising our vinyl or our tape with the degreaser. So I'm gonna take this over and we're gonna wipe it with some brake clean. Brake clean works really great, and it's a little bit less harsh on some of the surfaces than acetone, but it does a good job of degreasing. So let's get this cleaned off. Another area I'm kind of concerned about is the zoom adjustment. This little area here is a rubber strip, so I'm kind of concerned on how that's going to go when we start sandblasting and going into paint. I don't know if the paint is going to stick to that well. Obviously it had to if they hydro dipped onto this, but I'm thinking when we blast it off we'll be left with black rubber. We'll start on this end because I know this end's going to be easier. Like I said, I have a plug that's going to fit right inside there if we give a little bit of persuasion. So that works real nice. Plus, when we go into the oven, it'll give us a surface that we can stand it up on. Also, another good little trick for masking this part off will be to open this all the way up, and then we can put some tape on there and then screw it back in. There. By sealing that up, it'll help keep the sand from being able to work down anywhere near the lens. Now I'm going to start working on masking off this end. So I'm going to cut myself a little bit oversized circle of the vinyl. I'll take that and I'll just cut it in half. And then with a little bit of finesse, try to work that down in there. We have the end all sealed up. And again, I'd like to point out that it's important that you use a high temperature vinyl when you cover the lens. That way when it's in the oven, or after it comes out of the oven, when you peel off the vinyl, it won't leave a residue behind that you'll have to try to remove. This will come off nice and clean. And again, I'm using Avery Dennison SF 100-235 high bake vinyl. And so now we just left with this rim that we need to do, and I've got multiple widths of this poly tape. We're going to go ahead and tape that off. With that being masked off, we're ready to go into the sandblast. One of the things that's important to do when you're done sandblasting is any of your moving parts, make sure you really blow those out while you're twisting them. By doing that, you work the sand out instead of trapping it in there. And you definitely don't want to put paint on it while there's any sand in there, because that could actually kind of glue it into place. So the best thing to do is just kind of blow it out liberally until it's run smooth. So I've changed my mind on how I want to approach painting the scope. I am going to do it in two parts now, because I do want it, when I do put it in the oven, I want it to sit on this end so it's more stable, so it doesn't want to tip over. So I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to paint around the end of this scope. We'll put it in the oven for a little bit, and then we'll bring it out, cool her down, and then we'll spray the rest. Okay, now we'll let that sit in there for about 10 or 15 minutes. All right, our scope has finished flash curing this top edge, so we'll be able to use that as our resting surface when we go into the oven for the final cure. It's in the oven. We're going to let that sit for about 2 hours. All right, it's been a little over 2 hours. This stuff should be done in the oven. Let's pull that scope out first so we don't knock it over. Now all we really got to do is start peeling the masking off. Well, we had another successful Cerakote job on this scope. Came out real nice. We had no damage to the glass. It's looking real good. I hope you enjoyed watching it. Hope you learned something. If you have any comments for me or questions, please put it in the comments below. Thanks again for watching this episode of the Alaskan Man Cave.